I knew with this power, I would be top 3. So there was Pogačar, there was Roglic, and there was me. I was probably in one of the best shapes ever in my life. I did this 35 minutes climb. I did it at 6.3 watts per kilo. So I was ready. Race day comes and I'm nowhere. I'm losing like 40, 50 watts. And then I wanted to find answers why I am performing well when I'm training and not performing well when I'm racing. And that's how I got involved with AEQ. Am I using sport or am I abusing sport? I use the sport because it allows me that after 6 hours of riding, I come home and I'm numb, with no emotions, with no feelings. This is the issue. By focusing even more attention into your things that you're efficient in, you can ignore things that you're not good at. At some point, things and areas that you're not good at become so problematic that you will not be able to ignore the problem anymore. And then what happens is, okay, your partner wants a divorce, your friends left you, you have insomnia, you have health issues, because we always tend to focus more time and attention into things that we are efficient in. What would happen if we were in much better touch with our body? We would feel stronger emotions. We would be able to make better decisions.
This is episode number 914 of the InnerFight podcast. No matter where you are in the world, thanks a lot for tuning in. Let's jump into today's show. Let's go. Welcome back to the show, Jani Brajkovic. First up, most importantly, who will win the 2024 Tour de France?
Well, that's a tough question. I mean, I'm biased. If I have to say it, I would say Pogačar. Yeah.
Were you impressed with him in the recent Giro?
Not really impressed. I mean, the way he rode and what he's achieved is very impressive. It is something like, I could say, okay, we've never seen that before. We did see it, but like in a modern times, it hasn't been done yet. Like being like not one level, like 2 levels above everyone else, right? But on the other hand, this is who he is. This is how strong he is. He's always been as strong, but at the Tour he had Vingegaard and other guys. So the difference was not as huge as it was at the Giro.
It was impressive.
Yeah.
It was impressive.
Yeah.
We'll see.
There's a story in Tour of Catalonia. So it was in March. He won Tour of Catalonia, right? And he had no competition at that race, right? And he won 1 or 2 stages, and then he wanted to race and he wanted to go hard. And they asked him, why do you want to do this? Like, you have the GC, you will win it, like your advantage is huge. And he said, I'm worried because I'm worried I'll get detrained. I have to train during the race. Yeah.
That's crazy. So that's maybe why every day in the Giro he was attacking and ended up with almost 10 minutes winning margin when he didn't really need to.
Yeah.
So he was just training in the Giro, in the Grand Tour. I like that.
Yeah. On the other hand, like, okay, traditionally how you win the race is, okay, you win the stage, you get some advantage, you win the time trial, and then you try to keep that advantage. You don't attack, you just defend, right? But Pogačar is not like that. Like, he is so much stronger that not racing would, in my opinion, it's not fair to not race, right? Because I'm so much stronger, I can win 6, 7 stages. Why wouldn't I win 7 stages? Do I deserve them? I think I do, because I'm the best rider out there. But on the other hand, they see, okay, he doesn't give away anything. There are no gifts. He's greedy or things like this, and this can get other teams and riders. It can put them in the position they start, let's say, having negative emotions towards him. And this can backfire on you eventually. Not at the Giro, because nobody was so strong to do something, but at the Tour, it could happen.
It's interesting, and I think it's the perfect segue. You mentioned negative emotions. Some of those negative emotions come consciously, some of them come subconsciously, which is where you've spent a lot of time in the last, very deep in the last couple of years. Jani, do you want to talk us through what's been happening in your life in the last couple of years and the journey that you've been on?
Now it's been 4 years since I started, well, getting involved with AEQ method and then becoming a teacher and advancing through AEQ. So the reason I started with AEQ was in 2020, I was probably in one of the best shapes ever in my life. And I did this 35 minutes climb. I did it at 6.3 watts per kilo. So I was ready. Next, the week after, we had national championships where the race finished with 10 or 12 kilometer climb, like perfect for me. I knew with this power, I would be top 3. So there was Pogačar, there was Roglič, and there was me. Like power-wise, the numbers did not lie. And then the race day comes and I'm nowhere. I'm losing like 40, 50 watts, right? And then I wanted to find answers why I am performing well when I'm training and not performing well when I'm racing. And that's how I got involved with AEQ, where I got most of my answers. Why am I the way I am? Who am I? Why I'm getting involved in so many crashes? Why I am so unlucky? Why I am losing so much money? Why people abuse me? And then you're getting some answers and you realize, okay, if I consciously want something, my goals are not out of reach. They're like realistic, right? So I consciously want something. My goals are realistic. There has to be another, let's say, force that is preventing me getting to these goals, right? And then if we think, okay, we have conscious mind, we have subconscious mind, and we have the body. The body is is the realism. It's us, right? And then if we think, okay, 90 to 95% of our day is run by our subconscious, not conscious, right? So if my subconscious is programmed to go this way or that way, but consciously I want to go that way, for some period, I can force my way to go right, to go conscious way, but eventually some subconscious wins, because you're basically going 90% compared to 10 or 5%, right? The thing is also that what is subconsciously acceptable for you if you consciously go higher, so in my case, I was raised in an environment where it was normal or expected to be poor, to be not respected, to be not accepted, to be humiliated, to not be important, to listen to others and be quiet. And then my ego decided, okay, I will be different. I will become somebody. I will achieve something in my life, right? And then through years, I was achieving more and more and more and more until a point where I won the Dauphiné. In 2010, I won, I would say, the most important 1 week race in the world, right? And when I won this race, I became important, I became respected, I became loved by other people. And this was not aligned with my subconscious. Subconsciously, I was still disrespected, not important, humiliated. And then when you are here consciously, but subconsciously, you are way there. Your subconsciousness, your actions, and your behavior, not other people, but your behavior, will make sure that you come down. And this is the time when crashes started to happen, when bad luck started to happen, where I was starting to become sick, where I was unlucky all the time. For example, in 2011 Tour de France, I had by far the best shape. And again, like by numbers, realistically, I was capable of doing podium, top 3, right? And first 5 stages were easy for me. They were flat stages, but for a guy like me, like 57 kilos, crosswinds, stress, it should have been very stressful for me. But in 2011, it was easy. And then stage 6, I crashed. And it was like a silly crash where I was in the middle of the group. The group got stretched. The beginning of the group started slowing down. And then I just kept my speed, like it was 65, 70K an hour, and crashed into riders in front of me. And I broke my collarbone. I had severe concussion, and I went home, and the tour was over. In 2012, I was not as strong, and I finished 9th at the tour. But in 21 days, I crashed 9 times. 9 times. The last crash was 1 day before the time trial, and I injured my elbow, so I couldn't time trial in a position. I was 9th in GC. Guy number who was 8th and 7th were really bad time trialists. So for me, it should have been very easy to gain that minute in a 50K time trial and jump to 6th or 7th position, right? But it wasn't. I finished 9th, right? And then from that point on, everything just started going down, down, down. And when I finished my career, I was ashamed. I was not respected. I was not important. I was disgraced. I was exactly what I was programmed to be, right? And then with what we can do with AEQ is that we start changing those patterns. But to change those patterns, so our behavior, we first have to have greater self-awareness. What are we doing now in this moment? How are we behaving? And how is this behavior is gonna affect us long term, right? So if I'm having a conversation with you and I say something stupid, which in turn will cause disagreement or whatever, long term, like, you'll probably not invite me for another podcast. Or 2 weeks ago when I was in Dubai, when we set a meeting, if I was late 30 minutes, you would probably not call me for a podcast, right? So self-awareness is key to be more connected with our body. And the thing with the body is that all sensations or all feelings, all emotions come from the body. So if we have better touch with our body, we have more information coming from the body. So we have better chance to make better decisions, to make better actions, to have better results. And that's the whole point. Like, get more information that is real, not fake information. Because if I ask you who you are, or let's say I ask a person, who are you? You will explain, you will say things that you consciously think who you are, right? When people ask me who I was 4 years ago, I always said, okay, I think I'm a nice guy. I want to help people. I would never hurt anyone. But so many people hurt me. They're hurting me time and time again. And I don't know why. But now when I think back, what I was doing is my behavior, not just verbal, but non-verbal communication, how I operated, was that I was in constant conflict with the environment, and that environment reacted to that conflict, and I got back what I deserved. And I never understood that, why they are treating me like they're treating me, right? So what do? We don't change the environment, but we change ourselves, right? And when we start changing ourselves, what starts happening is that our chronic muscle tension is starting to disappear or relax. The muscle tone is going down. And then we get to a problem where more relaxed muscles, the consequence of more relaxed muscles is more sensations, more feelings, more suppressed memories from the past, more suppressed emotions, which we have to deal with, right? And that's the issue. When you start relaxing your body, what you have suppressed in your body, it will start coming up. And if you don't know how to deal with that, you will not relax. You don't want to relax, right? So what was happening with me is, in 17 years of my cycling career, in all 17 years, I only had 1 week without my bike, without exercise. 1 week. And that was the worst week of those 17 years. When you don't exercise, when you have time to relax, when you start relaxing, you start feeling that pressure from the inside. And instead of letting go and relaxing, you will start behaving in a way that will increase your muscle tone and again prevent release of emotions. So what we basically do is we create an armor that protects us from what we have in our bodies.
What we're talking about here, though, Jani, is a lot of the way that we're brought up. And a lot of what you're speaking about is happening in childhood. So talk us through a little bit of that, because we're in quite a difficult situation. Our parents brought us up in a certain way. For the most part, what they think is a lot of love. But what I'm hearing and sort of what's going on is actually it's creating a subconscious mindset that plays out in the way that you've just explained.
Yeah. And I want to be clear, like our parents and I as a parent, what they were trying to do is they tried to give us everything they could. They tried to give us love. They tried to give us attention, everything. But the way we were raised is the way I, as a parent, also started raising my kids. So I'll explain. A child is creating the subconscious patterns in the first 7-8 years of growing up. A child, the whole time is just scanning the environment, scanning the behavior of mother, of a father, and the non-verbal behavior of a parent is imprinted in a child's subconsciousness. So if a mother consciously or a father gives a lot of attention and love to a child, but on a non-verbal level shows different picture, a child will react to that non-verbal communication. Because if you think in the first 2 years of child's life, the child communicates through non-verbal communications, through touch, through expression, right? So a child feels what kind of state its mother is in. A child feels that the mother is under high pressure. The mother is scared. The mother is full of fear because father is irresponsible, for example, right? And what the child does, a child tries to do everything to keep the family together, to keep the parents together, because a child depends on family, on mother and father, right? So if, let's say, parents have their own problems with their marriage or whatever, a child will intervene and try to move the focus, move attention from parents paying attention to each other to parents paying attention to the child. And then parents start saving the child, and when they put all the attention to the child, they don't have to pay attention to their own sensations and feelings and their own relationship, right? And then what we were also taught is that if you have good grades, you're a good child. If you behave well, you will get more love. If you are the way they want you to be, you are a nice kid. You get love. You get to spend time with your parents. And then child figures out that, okay, if I achieve this, and this, I will get love. And then the child tries harder and harder and harder and excels at school, excels at sport activities, excels at college, and because the child is always looking and searching for love. And then what happens when that child grows up? Because that child doesn't have, so the child didn't get true love, unconditional love. If you don't get unconditional love, you also don't get to love yourself, to accept yourself, to understand yourself. And then you have to move or shift your focus to the outside world and look for love, acceptance, understanding from other people, from the outer world, right? And then you continue doing the same thing. You're looking for attention, you're looking for love, you're looking for confirmation from others, from the outer world, right? And then you become very successful athlete. You are very successful businessman. But when you start doing this, you are investing time, energy, and attention into one area. And you excel in this area. You're great in this area. What you don't understand is that in other areas of your life, you're probably below average, or you're neglecting those areas,
yep.
Right? And then those areas that you're neglecting become problematic. But by focusing even more attention into your, let's say, business, into things that you're efficient in, you can ignore things that you're not good at. At some point, things and areas that you're not good at will become so problematic that you will not be able to ignore the problem anymore. And then what happens is, okay, your partner wants a divorce, your child doesn't want to talk to you, your friends left you, or you have insomnia, you have health issues, you have chronic health issues, you're under chronic stress, things like this, right? Because we always tend to focus more time and attention into things that we are efficient in, right? The more time we invest in those things, the more efficient we are in those things, and more pleasure we get from those things, right?
If we link it back to professional sport, you've used a few different examples, whether you're in business, but if we keep it sport, do you think, because what we hear from professional sports people is if they want to be the best, their sole focus, all of their energy, all of their emotion has to go into that sport. So they don't actually have time, energy, or emotion to put into other areas. Like it could be relationships. It could be, especially if you take endurance sports like cycling, you know, we see these guys riding 5-6 hours a day. So what does that come at the cost of? Okay, that could be seen as a job, but the knock-on effect of that is that they're tired, or we need food at certain times. So relationships sometimes get ignored, connection with people get ignored. So my question is, do you think it's actually, how is it possible to have professional sportsmen and ladies performing at the top level and being professional and winning whilst not channeling all of their energy and emotion into that sport?
Yeah, the thing is, yes, if you want to be professional cyclist, you have to invest time, energy, and attention into cycling, 100%. But then you have to ask yourself, okay, do I want to have somewhat normal marriage? Is my wife important to me? What is important to me? Is it important to be the best cyclist I can be, or is it important to be the best cyclist as I can be, but still have good relationship with my wife, still have some social context, still have some friends, right? The other thing is, what if I would tell you that many people, what they do is they focus so much into their sport, not because they want to, but because they have to. What if they put all their energy, attention, and time into sport just to not be dealing with that other side? What if sport and exercise is the only thing that gives them pleasure and meaning and sense of being somebody? What if they don't know how to interact with people? If they're very, not shy, unpleasant, if they feel awkward dealing with other people, right? What if they invest so much time into sport so they don't have to invest time in solving problems with their wives? That's the problem. Is the question is, am I using sport or am I abusing sport? If I'm using sport, yes, 90% of my time, energy is focused into sport. We know there's a price, but still, I try to keep good relationship with my wife, with my kids. They suffer, but this is only temporary. This is for the next 5 years, and then we will change. They're okay with that? Well, yeah. What if I abuse the sport, and by being in the sport, by training excessively, I use the sport because it allows me that after 6 hours of riding, I come home and I'm numb, with no emotions, with no feelings, and I don't care about anything because I'm so numb and I'm so low in energy that I sit on the couch and I don't care what they say. This is the issue, because this was the issue I had. Because I trained, I went out, so my 5-hour training ride was 5 hours riding time, was probably 7 hours total time, right? Because I loved spending time elsewhere, outdoors, in the nature, not thinking about anything else, right? And what I achieved was I drained myself. I sucked the energy out of me. I came home and I thought at the time, I feel good. But it wasn't that I felt good. It was just that I felt nothing. There was nothing here. And that was, for me, that was good. If there was rain, bad weather, snow, what started happening was that if I didn't ride, my internal energy, so my vital energy, the internal pressure started raising, and I felt like I was gonna explode. I'm serious. Like anxious, mood swings, anger, rage, inability to communicate with my family, especially my family. Other people I could manage myself, right? And then what you do, you go out, you ride for 6 hours, you lower that internal energy, internal pressure, you come home and you're normal. That's what I thought. That's normal. And then you ask yourself, okay, why am I riding? What's the purpose of my training? Is it because I love the sport and I love challenging myself and I want to race and achieve good results? Or is it that every day I go out, I kill myself, basically kill myself, numb myself, so I can survive for another day? And that was the thing, because when we ask ourselves now, okay, why do I have such a high internal pressure? The answer is very simple. If something's bothering me, if something's limiting me, if something's endangering me, if something's hindering me, my nervous system will sense that. My muscles will tense, my production of my internal vital energy will go up, and I will feel, I don't know, let's say anger. I feel anger. And that anger allows me that with my behavior, I change whatever is bothering me. So it allows me to change the environment, to change myself, or change something else, to do something, so I am not angry anymore. If we are emotionally immature, if we learned from our parents that dealing with problems goes like this, goes like, okay, you are angry, you do nothing, you stay quiet, and you despise that other person. And then for a week, those people, your parents, don't talk. There's no communication. And after a week, they are forced to talk because like life goes on, right? And that was me. So when something was bothering me, I stayed quiet. The pressure started rising. And then if you come to work every day and you see something that's really bothering you, right? And let's say you have a person above you, your boss, right? And he's doing something that you really don't like, okay? You stay quiet because there's nothing you can do. After 1 week, that anger will be here. Yeah. After 1 month, it's not anger anymore. It's either rage, it is either contempt, it's either protest, so you don't come to work because of him, or at some point you will explode and lose your job because you will act inappropriately, or revenge. You will do something to him that and return the same amount of energy that you built in that month with your anger and rage and contempt and revenge, right? So the better option is, if we sense, if there's anger, whatever emotion it is, we react to that emotion. We take it out, we say something, we try to solve the problem, solve the issue. And when we solve the issue, there is no need to have elevated internal energy, to elevated pressure, and we go back to parasympathetic state. And when we go back to parasympathetic state, everything's good. And we can be calm, and we can sleep normal, and we can be relaxed, and we can feel pleasure and joy and happiness. Because when there's muscle tension, when there's sympathetic state activated, when there's elevated internal pressure, you cannot feel joy, you cannot feel calmness, you cannot feel pleasure, you cannot feel love, right? The point is that if we teach ourselves emotional maturity and emotional efficiency. So it's not just that I am able to recognize your emotions and react to them. Emotional maturity defines how strong of an emotion I can accept or express without losing my mind, control over myself. So my rational mind, right? That's the higher the emotional maturity, stronger emotions I can deal with, right? And now, if I'm able to cope and deal with stronger emotions, I'm also able to solve and deal with more difficult problems, right? If you are able to solve, if you're solving difficult issues and problems, more people will get interested in you. You will be more attractive for people, right? So your efficiency goes up because you are able to, you have ability to solve hard problems. Your efficiency is up, you're more attractive for more people. And because you can do this, you can also charge more for solving heavy problems. And then instead of working 10 hours a day, you can work 4 hours a day, have the same pay, and have 6 hours you can focus on family or whatever you want.
Riding your bike.
Yeah, yeah, right? Because nowadays we don't have time. There is like, we do not have time because the speed of life is so high, is that there's never enough time. But if we are able to improve our efficiency of functioning, of solving problems, we can save plenty of time. That doesn't mean because we save plenty of time, we can do other things, we can do more work. But that gives us enough free time to relax, to be in a parasympathetic state, to enjoy, to recover, and prepare for another day of, let's say, stress.
What we're talking about here, especially in conscious, subconscious, parasympathetic, sympathetic nervous system, is the basic, on a granular level, it's the basic way that a human being operates.
Yeah.
We know that, and we've known that for a long time. Some of the stuff that you've been speaking about, mate, is probably new to a lot of people in some way or another. Some people might have heard of bits of it, and it all makes sense, and you explain it very well. But the missing link actually is educating people from, I mean, almost part of it. It's almost like we don't teach people in schools how to boil an egg, or yeah, you know, make some food, and even less so these days. Why do you think that education part on how the body actually operates, the mind operates, and the energy and sympathetic, parasympathetic, why is it being missed out if it's such a key part of our, essentially our vitality, our fulfillment, and
yeah,
us living good as human beings?
Yeah, there's one question. What would happen if we were in much better touch with our body? We would feel more emotions, stronger emotions. We would be able to make better decisions, right? The problem in this is that more emotions and stronger emotions are a big issue nowadays. Why? imagine this. You ask me a very difficult question, and I start crying now. And I have very strong emotions. And we lose 20 minutes because I'm very emotional and I cannot put myself together. The one metric we don't have enough today is time. If we have people with strong emotions, emotional people, we're losing time. So nowadays, it is much better. This is short term, right? Nowadays, it is much better to have very shallow emotions, to go, hey, how are you? I'm good. Okay, let's get to business, right? Nice doing business with you, and you go, right? What would happen if you ask me, hey, how are you? And I start talking about what happened yesterday and how I broke down and things like this. You would probably, not you, but let's say normal person would be very uncomfortable with this, right? So strong emotions are stealing time, which we don't have. So what we need to do now is let's suppress emotions. Let's function more like robots, like
zombies,
because the technology is digital. Technology doesn't make mistakes. It is way faster than a human being, and we are trying to compete with technology. This is impossible, right? So we need people in today's economy. We need people who are willing to spend money for things they don't need, right? We need people who don't who are not connected with themselves. Why? Because when a person, especially a woman, when a person is connected with its body, the combination of bodily sensations, feelings, emotions, and rational mind gives you ability to make great decisions with very few mistakes. And a woman's intuition is way, way stronger than man's intuition. And that's why a woman, nowadays this is a little bit, because we're all in a sympathetic state, in a dominantly sympathetic state, a woman can predict future. Always has. Nowadays, again, it's very suppressed, but a woman knows much. A woman can predict the future because a woman sees the whole picture. And a woman thinks long term. A man doesn't think long term. A man will see the goal and he will go for the goal, not thinking about other things, right? So in today's times, you need people who don't think, who are alienated from their bodies, their feelings, sensations, who are emotionless, and the world, and the side effect of this is chronic issues, chronic problems, chronic pain, whether that's physical problems or mental problems, or emotional problems, whatever it is, a problem or pain is what is pain telling us? That you are doing something chronically wrong. You are inefficient in one particular or more areas, and please fix it. The pain, we have to learn from pain. The pain is not an enemy, right? Learn from pain, but we don't understand that, because what we do when we are in pain, we want to self-medicate. because we have this meeting in 30 minutes, right? And acutely, that's fine too. But if I have a headache every day, it's probably a good idea to think why I have headache every day when I come to my office and this person is present, let's say, right?
Time is, and the modern world seems to be somewhat of our undoing, because it also, which I think comes in a little bit more to the work that you're doing now and the work that you've done on yourself. You started this 4 years ago. I guess the national championships in 2020 was the final straw for you, where, like you said at the start of the show, where you wanted to understand sort of what was going on. But the world is moving in a way of instant gratification, and to pull out these emotions, and especially to access things in the subconscious. We've spoken about this a lot. Like the subconscious, we don't know what happened until I like to see it that we have a carousel of millions of images in our brains, like they used to project on the wall, these little slides. A lot of the time you can access the ones that you use a lot, but you can't get the files that you probably don't want to get, and you've put them somewhere. Always visualize that you've put them at the back. Or it's always harder to get something from the back than it is from the front, right? I don't know. But if you start to work on yourself as you've done, then you can start to access these things. But when you start to access these slides, these images that are in the brain, a lot of them can also be quite disturbing, quite ugly. And we see things from the past that maybe we didn't want to see. So my question here, Jani, is how do we? It takes time, which we don't have. It doesn't give us instant gratification, which we don't like. And it gives us memories of the past that we have forgotten, probably for a good reason. They're at the back of the brain for a good reason. So between you and I in this show, we're not really selling the whole process. So what's your thoughts on that? Like, if someone's listening and gone, fucking hell, this is just carnage. Let's just carry on where we are.
Yeah. So yes, you need time, energy, and attention. I'll go. So if you have energy, excess energy, you can learn. You're able to learn, because you learn, you understand. When you understand, you can accept. And acceptance allows you to change what you don't like. Now, what we are selling is this. Chronic tension, whether that's chronic tension or chronic tension comes with sympathetic state anyways. Chronic tension makes our body stiff. Tension is never pleasant. Tension never gives us positive emotions, positive sensations, positive feelings. Suppressed memories, emotions, patterns that are stored in the body, unlocked with chronic tension and with inability to feel that part of the body. And in most people, area around pelvis is basically energetically separated from them. And pelvis is the area where your personality, authenticity, your creativity, everything comes from. So then if you ask yourself, who am I? I don't know, because I'm separated, because I was not allowed to be myself when I was 2 years old. So I was forced to adapt and to be different and to follow the guidelines of my environment, right? So we have separated ourselves from parts of the body, and those body parts are numb. We don't feel them. These parts, and combined with tension, are preventing us to have normal, natural pulsation of the body. So pulsation of the body is, let's say, inhale, exhale. Inhale, the chest, the torso expands, and exhale, it compresses. So you have compression and expansion. And this two polar opposites, this contrast we find in all life. You have night and day, you have rain and sun, you have heartbeat, you have breathing. Everything is two polar opposites. And that's also why you cannot have only good emotions. If you have very strong good emotions, you have to be able to take also strong bad negative emotions, right? And when we start doing and learning AEQ method, what starts happening is that we are starting to relax those chronic tensions, and we start to reconnect our conscious mind with those parts that were separated, that were alienated from us. Thus, we start increasing pulsation of the body, of the whole system. And the greater the pulsation, the greater the contrast between the expansion and compression, the more alive system is, the more vital energy it produces, the more, let's say, the more colors you see, right? The stronger emotions you are able to take, able to feel, positive and negatives, the fuller your life becomes. There's also one other thing, is when we are so separated from ourselves, instead of focusing our attention inside, we direct it outside, and we seek and we look and we want confirmation from other people. We want others to tell us how good we are. We don't get the sensations from our bodies, because self-respect, self-image, self-confidence, self-trust, self-awareness comes from the body. It doesn't come from what we've done. It comes from the body. It's an internal sensation, and only we can reach it. We can get it. We can get in touch with it. And when I have better self-respect, I will also be more respected by others. Because if I don't respect myself, nobody else will respect me. How much I respect myself, this is exactly how much others respect me. This is on a subconscious level, non-verbal level. I'm not saying it, but on a verbal level, you could see a completely different picture, right? But on a non-verbal level, you get what you believe you deserve. Self-respect, self-image, self-trust, self-awareness. And self-awareness is the key where you can start exploring your, let's say, inner world. And it's not pretty, it's not nice, it's not pleasant, it is very painful at times, but what you get for a reward is worth it. Why? It is also because when we start changing ourselves, our subconsciousness, our children will start copying our behavior. and their life will be a little bit easier than our life has been. So it is my responsibility to change myself to help my children to have a little bit easier life. Because one of so there were two reasons. Find an answer, why am I so underperforming at racing? And the second reason was, so my son, at that very same time, my son was 12. He was in the next room, standing on the door, and I was asking him something. And at one point, he said something in a way, it shook me. And in my mind, I was like, can I curse here on the podcast?
If you want to.
I was like, fuck. He is becoming a copy of me. And then if I go from my year 13 until 38, 39, I don't want him to have a life that I've lived. Because at some point, at many points, it was hell. So it's my responsibility to change myself, and then he can decide, or they can decide, what they do with their lives. It is my fault that they are the way they are, but it is their responsibility to change it. So of course, I am guilty for what I've done in their first 12 years.
I have one final question for you, mate. It's obvious, and anyone that's listened carefully in the conversations we've had, the last 4 years have been hard for you. We could argue if they've been harder than those years that you mentioned there from 13 to 38. But the hope for people, or almost the promise for people, how can you express how much different you feel? Is it happiness? Is it fulfillment? Is it vitality today compared to 4 years ago because of what you've been through and the journey that you're on?
In 2017, when I was going through very tough times, I had an eating disorder. I didn't get my contract renewed. I was not stupid. I was thinking rationally. And I came up with this. So I said, I have an eating disorder that I cannot fix. I'm addicted to riding a bike, which I cannot quit. If I continue like this, what will happen eventually? I'll either be killed in an accident during one of my rides, or I will die because of an eating disorder. And that was like 10 years time frame. It wasn't like in 20 years. And I have 3 kids and I have a wife. There is nothing I can do. I lost hope. And when you lose hope, there's nothing more. The hope is the last, right? And when I started with AEQ, that first session, which lasted 2.5 hours, it was just talking. I got hope back. I said, okay, we can do something about it, right? And if I compare myself to 4 years ago, and when I met you in 2013 was the first time we met, and then 2017, I was, that morning when we met for a bike ride at 4:30, I felt you were like this, and I was this. And now I feel, and I feel I am becoming somebody. I have my integrity, I have my personality, which is not true my true personality, because it's evolving. I've always wore masks. I was never true, genuine. I always faked. I was always fake. And now, 3 weeks ago, we've had really hard few days because there were some things happening, but what I realized is that my path, that the path I want to go on is not to be like somebody else. I want to be myself. I don't want to be like my mentor. I don't want to be like anyone else. I want to do my thing, my way, with my authenticity, the way I want it. And this allows me, like in the past 3 weeks when I was working with clients, the work has been so much easier because you don't fake it. You don't try to impress anyone. You just are who you are. And also if you look our family relationship with my wife, with my kids, you cannot compare it. But you also, through the process, you have to learn it yourself, because I never experienced in my childhood what is normal relationship with a partner. How do I treat my partner? How do I talk to my partner? What do I do to my partner? How do I respect her? Do I listen to her? Can I be calming? Can I be intimate? What's intimacy? I didn't know, and you have to learn. So yeah, it's tough, but it's worth it.
He's smiling. If you're not watching the video version, he has a big smile. I can see his teeth and those cheeks that actually now have life and vibrance in them that they definitely didn't have in behind the mask in 2013. Yeah. Jani, thank you so much, mate. It's always very inspiring to talk to you, to hear the story. I know you've discussed it on a few shows. We've had a lot of talks, but every time I hear it, it's amazing, mate. And I'm sure people take a lot from the show. So I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I'm honored to be on a podcast. And before the podcast, I was like, my English is not good because it's talking about these things, you need to choose specific words. And in Slovenian, the difference between Slovenian and English is, in Slovenian, you have one word that has one meaning, and that's it. In English, one word can mean 20 different things, right? And also, like, my vocabulary of English is not that good. So
it's pretty good, mate.
I explain it decently, but I'll work on my English. And yeah, because I want to work with English-speaking clients. I think there's a lot of people in Dubai that need help, that who can change their lives, who don't need to suffer as much, and you know a lot of them, and you help a lot of them, and you've changed so many lives so far that yeah.
I don't think English is a problem for you, mate. You've used some words that I wouldn't have used because so you express yourself super well. Yeah, absolutely brilliant.